What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another video. If you're new here, my name's Dustin. I work in the commercial film industry as a DP, first AC, PA, really anything I can get into in the camera department. And the Super Bowl was last night. I watched some incredible commercials. Some made me laugh, some made me cry, some were visually just incredible. Anyway, today I wanted to go through my absolute favorite commercials from Super Bowl 2024. Technically, these are my top 10, but 3 of them are honorable mentions. So we're gonna start it out at number 7 with Pringles, Mr. P. So this spot starred Chris Pratt and his massive mustache. I love this commercial because I like to think that this is a play on the fact that he was cast as Mario this past year, and everyone in the world was like, why is Chris Pratt playing Mario? I mean, look at Mario and look at the Pringles guy. They both have mustaches. I also loved that they cast him in a Pringles biopic. If you've watched movies the last 2 years, you know that there's been a biopic about every company. Every company's starting story is dramatic and cinematic and needs to be on Apple TV. You got Air, you got BlackBerry, you got Tetris. By the way, I've watched Air and Tetris and they were great movies. I don't have a problem with biopics. I just thought it was kind of funny that they were like, we're gonna make a movie about Pringles. I also loved what was maybe a little writers and actors strike reference at the very end of the video with the gas station worker asking if she gets a cut.
Do I get a cut?
Probably not, because why would you get paid for your ideas? That'd be so silly. Next up at number 6 is the Elf commercial starring half the cast of Suits. What I loved about this spot is I think it really shows the power of celebrity cameos. We all know Super Bowl is celebrity cameo Christmas, basically. I'm sure most of the budget for a lot of these spots is spent towards the celebrity cameos, but I love this one because these were my favorite cameos of the entire night, up against people like Arnold and Beyonce, the cast of the hit series Suits. We could throw in the T-Mobile spot here as well with Mike and Harvey doing their Mike and Harvey thing. I love that these characters from a TV show that I'm super attached to outweigh actual mega superstars with their cameo status. Coming in at number 5, the first commercial on the list to make me cry was Perfect 10 by Kia. This is also the first one on the list with absolutely incredible cinematography and wonderful storytelling. The way it was shot was absolutely beautiful, especially the skating choreography and the way that the skating choreography was captured with the active camera, probably on the ice, probably on skates with the girl. It was so good, and as a product ad, it was really good too. It showed features of the car. I'm not in the market for a Kia EV or a vehicle at all, but it showed me that this vehicle can power other electronics like the lights and the speaker. But to be quite honest, I don't really care about any of that. None of that really matters standing up to the story of her grandfather wasn't able to make it to her recital. So they drive out into the woods, into the mountains. She performs a second time this night for him. He gives her a perfect 10. We all cry. And as a cinematographer, as a DP, I love that because a story that powerful and that emotional can only really be told with really intentional and really thoughtful and careful cinematography. Like, if this wasn't a beautiful commercial, if it wasn't well done, I don't think it would pack the same emotional punch as it does. I also love it because as a commercial DP, I'm constantly wondering, am I really telling stories? Am I really making things that matter? And I'm just saying, if this was on my portfolio, I would feel pretty good about both of those things. I would also love to have number 4 on my director DP portfolio. That's Big Game commercial by Volkswagen. This spot visually is absolutely incredible. The entire direction is amazing. Basically, it's showing Volkswagens coming into the US back in whatever year they came to the US. They're driving through the streets and everyone's like, that's a weird looking car, what the heck's going on? Eventually it catches on, it's super popular, and you go through the ages with Volkswagen. You get Herbie fully loaded, you get a punch buggy scene from The Simpsons, and they're all edited beautifully together. Visually, the first part is definitely my favorite. I mean, it's basically shot like a period piece with that 4:3 aspect ratio. It's in black and white. I'm sorry, I'm watching it and it is so well done with the deep contrasty black and white color grade, the wardrobe, the set design. To go that hard for a commercial, I love it. I think visually this is probably the best commercial that played last night. But again, that can't carry a commercial on its own. Combining it with that story of here's our cars, they've looked weird since the beginning, and then ending it with their new 2024 model, and in my brain I'm like, It's a weird looking car. Yeah, that's the point. I love that they stuck to their identity throughout the years with the vans, the punch buggies, and now whatever this weird looking vehicle is, Volkswagen. Nice. Okay, coming in at number 3 is the commercial that made me want to make this video. It is Yes by Reese's. This commercial is absolutely ridiculous. I think it's silly, goofy humor without being cringy or going too far. It's just dumb and hilarious. Basically, they're like, we made some changes to Reese's, and everyone's like, no. And then they do a crazy thing.
We're making a big change to Reese's Peanut Butter Cups.
The funny thing about this spot was, while I was watching it, I was having the complete opposite reaction to everyone. So basically, they're like, we're putting caramel on Reese's, and everyone's like, yeah, and in my head, I'm like, no, that sounds disgusting. Don't mess with a good thing. And they're like, we only made a few of them, and I'm like, good, you should only make a few of them, while the cast is like, oh man, only a few of them. Also, it's a really simple structure as far as the edit goes. They show a big Reese's and then they show the reactions. You could watch this commercial 100 times. Everyone's doing crazy things, but my eye is constantly drawn, color theory here, my eye is constantly drawn to this guy in the blue shirt, just being like, ding, ding. I think they know exactly what they're doing, because this is also the guy who's like in the Reese's at the end. He's definitely the poster of this commercial. The grandma suplexes the coffee table, and then in the next frame, she's just making out with this guy. Like, cool. I loved that. So that brings me on to number 2, Javier in Frame by Google Pixel. And this one, y'all, this one is number 2 on the list, because even more so than the Kia one, this one had me crying. A commercial that can make you cry? If you haven't seen this, this is basically an ad for Google Pixel's new feature that tells you what's in the frame while you're taking a selfie. The entire commercial is blurred out because it's shot from the perspective of someone who has low vision or some level of blindness. And basically it goes through this man's life, really important moments in his life, and shows how that feature allows him to do what I'm doing right now, documenting his life, take photos of himself, take videos of himself, and not just himself, the woman he falls in love with, and the baby that they have. The part where you can kind of tell that they're in a hospital and he's holding up his phone and the Google voice says, 1 face detected, 2 faces detected, 3rd face detected, and he snaps the photo and then it shows. I mean, this is a super simple concept. The capturing, the execution is super simple, but the story is very powerful. Overall, as an ad, it's extremely effective because 1, I understand the product completely without having to use it.
1 face cropped. Move your phone down. 1 face in frame. Hold for photo.
And bonus, it helps me understand the life and the struggles and the experiences of an entire group of people that I would never understand otherwise. So good filmmaking. Well done. Before we get to number 1, let's hit those honorable mentions. First up, we have Talkin' Like Walkin' by BMW. This one is super fun. It's Christopher Walken and a bunch of people he's interacting with, mimicking his accent or the way that he talks. You know, he talks like, I can't do it. It's horrible. I'm not gonna do it. But it's really funny and it's very awkward because I'm sure he experiences this all the time. And he's like, all right, got it. Like, that's how he acts in this commercial. The next honorable mention is Mr. T in Skechers. Basically, Tony Romo is like, there's no T in Skechers, which I actually didn't know. And Mr. T explodes through the wall with flames and everything. Like the Kool-Aid man is like, I pity the fool that doesn't have Mr. T in Skechers. The entire commercial is just him saying that he pities the fool that isn't wearing slip-on Skechers.
I pity the fool who have to touch his shoes to put them on. I pity the fool who bends down to put on their shoes. I pity the fool who isn't in Skechers slip-ins.
I love it. I love the way it's shot like an infomercial. It looks ridiculous on purpose. The visual effects look ridiculous on purpose. Mr. T also looks incredible for his age. He's freaking jacked. So yeah, I pity the fool who isn't wearing, maybe I'll get some Skechers. The last honorable mention before we move on to number 1 is Couch Potato Farms by Pluto TV. I love the concept, but I also loved the fact that they dressed everyone up like couch potatoes and seemingly literally just took them out to a farm. I feel like you could have cheated this with VFX, and I'm really glad that they didn't, or I really hope that they didn't. I like that, at least in my head, there are hundreds of people out here dressed as potatoes. that's fun. But that brings us to the end. Number one, my absolute favorite commercial from Super Bowl 2024, and it was Well Said by Disney Plus. This commercial caught me so off guard. I was super confused at what was happening. It is literally text on a screen with some music, and it was so good and so powerful because it used popular lines from films that I hold really close to my heart. This one absolutely made me cry. I wasn't given the number one spot to one that didn't make me cry, but I loved it, and I loved how simple it was, and I loved that I could make this in After Effects in 20 minutes. It wasn't about the budget, it wasn't about the hype, it wasn't about a cameo, it was about a good message, a good concept, and simple execution. The spot is incredible. I'm tearing up right now because I just watched it. It makes me want to watch movies, and not just movies, but as an ad should, it makes me want to watch movies on Disney Plus. And I have my issues with Disney and Disney Plus and the subpar money grabbing executive interference content that they've put out, especially in Marvel and Star Wars realms over the last few years. But a spot like this reminds me that in film, in art, some bad stuff is going to be made, but the good stuff, the Indiana Joneses, the Finding Nemos, and for me, above them all, the Star Wars, it really drowns out all the bad anyway. All right, y'all, that is all I have for you. If you enjoyed this video, if you liked it, please hit like down below. If you're interested in commercial filmmaking or camera gear or just storytelling in general, that's pretty much what we talk about here on this channel, so I'd appreciate it if you subscribed. Thanks for checking this out. If you're new here, thanks for clicking on a random guy's video. But y'all, seriously, thank you for clicking on this. Thank you for checking it out. It means the world, and I'll see you in the next video.